Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome Victoire de Margerie today for a special interview. Victoire, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, Victoire, you are the founder and CEO of Rondol Technology, co-founder of the World Materials Forum jointly with Philippe Varin, and board member of major mining and industrial companies. So we are very happy to have you.
Thank you very much.
And to receive you here in our EY Media Studio in Paris. So we have a first question for you, Victoire. You co-founded the World Material Forum. What was the original purpose of this initiative, and what have been your key takeaways since its creation?
Okay, so the initial purpose was just to have people focus on other topics than just finance. Yeah. Because both Philippe and myself, we come from the metal and chemical industry. And we had also seen in our country, France, disappearing a certain number of industrial companies that we really liked. So we really wanted to give the floor again to industry. Okay. And we thought that materials was a key topic because materials is at the origin of every industry. Sure. I mean, you can do nothing without materials. So that's why we created World Materials Forum. And we've had 10 yearly sessions, and what we have learned is really that it was even more important than what we had anticipated. Okay. So what we realized, step by step, discussing and investigating and finding facts and figures, that there were 3 major topics to be considered. First, we have to take into account the increase in the world population. So the increase in the world population means that everybody will need food and housing. Mm-hmm. And this is not so much in Europe or North America or Australia, New Zealand or Japan, not even in China. If you look at what we expect in the increase of the world population, we expect an increase from 7 billion to 9 billion in the coming 10 years. So it's not that much. Mm-hmm. No, but out of those 2 billion, 1 billion comes from one very specific tiny area called Sub-Saharan Africa. Sure. So how do we manage that half of the increase of the world population only comes from Sub-Saharan Africa? And they need materials, and they don't have those industries. So the second topic, and it was a big surprise for us, I have to say, because the first one we expected it. The second one we didn't expect so much, and it was what other type of needs will come from the increase in the middle class? Because everybody is happy that the middle class share increases. Yes, we are getting out of poverty. For sure. So in the 20 years to come, we expect the middle class to go from 45% to 65%. So it's a great win. Mm-hmm. Yes, but what does that mean? Those guys, they don't only want only food and housing. They expect to travel for tourism. They expect to have a car or to travel by bus or train or plane. So they have a number of expectations that come with the middle class that you don't need to fulfill when people are just poor and need some basic needs to be covered. Okay. And the third thing that was even more than what anything we had expected was digitalization. Because digitalization, when we started World Materials Forum, we had, if I remember well, something like 30%.
When was it when you started?
We started in 2015.
2015.
10 years ago.
So 10 years ago.
And when we started, we had more or less 30% of the world population that had access to digital tools.
Means smartphone,
computer, smartphone, etc.
Okay.
About 30%. In 20 years' time, we will be at 90%. So it will have tripled. If you look at just the figures of the data used and stored, we are doing plus 40% every year nowadays. So everybody 10 years ago was just, crying about aircraft and saying they were really bad for the CO2 emissions, etc. But when you look at aircraft emissions, they are still around 2.5%, sure. Which is 2.5% of the whole CO2 emissions. Mm-hmm. And if you just look at cement or steel, they are nearly at 10%. And digital means that we are 0.5% when we started. They are already at 4.4%.
So and it keep increasing every
year, because every year we have plus 40% data used and stored.
So there is also an impact in terms of decarbonization, innovation. I guess it can help to decarbonize some value chain. innovation is often seen as key. The key to reconcile also mining with environmental and social expectations. So how can we address these booming needs?
Innovation.
Innovation.
But before innovation, there is something that is really, hard to what Philippe and I wanted to develop, is really focus on facts and figures. Because we don't like people who just speak about, their thoughts, their ideas, etc. We thought if we want to develop collective intelligence, if we want to gather around the same table, multinational corporations, startups, big industrial groups, universities, research center, all those people, to get them together and to be efficient in addressing quickly these booming needs, we had to speak with facts and figures. Sure. And facts and figures that are accepted by everybody, so that are recognized to be true. Not supporting... In terms of
sources, no supporting each
other ideas. Okay. So once we have those facts and figures, our logo is act fast. Why fast? So for us, fast means focus, agility, speed, and technology. Focus. Focus, one of the things we were a bit surprised when we arrived, you had hundreds of initiatives everywhere, but each of them was very tiny. So we said, how can we have impact? If you want to have impact, you need to focus. Focus means selecting a limited number of things you want to influence, which of course, you make a certain number of people unhappy. And because everybody always wants to keep everybody happy, you end up with hundreds of initiatives that are all very tiny. So we said, okay, maybe we will make a few guys unhappy, but we will focus on a limited number of initiatives. And that's why, very early on, we focused on two key topics like mining, for example, and also like data storage and usage, data centers. So that was the idea, focus. Then agility. Agility, if you only have the big governments with big budgets or the big multinational companies, again, with big budget, yes, they can have impact, but it's slow. So what do we need? It's like when you want to get an aircraft carrier into a harbor, you need the small, tiny boat that brings the aircraft carrier into the harbor.
To Toulouse or Airbus, for example.
That's exactly the same. So what did we do? We said, we will activate startups. And the funny thing was, I can tell you the open truth, the idea didn't come from Philippe or from myself. The idea came from the CEO of Mitsubishi Heavy Industry, Japanese guy, amazing, PhD in math, incredible brain. And he said to Philippe and myself, we need startups, because startups, they are agile. They don't respect the hierarchy. If they want to implement something, they will go to the boss. And the other thing he said, and we don't only need startups, we need people who are not too much disciplined. And the good thing about the French people, they are not too much disciplined. Indeed. So he said to Philippe, you should ask Victoire to be the head of the startup challenge. So that's how I ended up, leading the startup effort. And I can give you two examples that have impressed me a lot. The first Grand Prix we gave, the Startup Grand Prix, we started 2 years after the beginning of WMF, 2017. And we gave it to a company called Citrine Informatics. What do they do? In 2017, so it's not today, they had developed the first artificial intelligence model for discovering new materials and being quicker in doing it. And they have boomed, and it's a super success in the Silicon Valley. And the other one I want to give you is another Grand Prix we gave in 2020. And you remember, I told you a little bit earlier that cement is 3 times more CO2
around 10%,
than
as you said, indeed.
Traveling by airplane. And why? Because they use calcium carbonate as a raw material. When you transform it, the carbon goes out and mixed with air makes CO2. 2 young guys in a Californian lab, they had the idea of changing the raw material. And instead of using calcium carbonate, they use calcium silicate.
Okay.
So when it meets air, it does SeO2 and no CO2. It's a crazy idea, but those guys, in 2 years, they have already raised $200 million, and they are starting their first unit in California right now. So agility really brings things that the entire cement industry had not thought about for 100 years. So second one, focus, agility. Third one, of course, is speed. Yes. And speed here, we have 3 major hurdles. First one is financing, very well known. Second one is permitting, also very well known. And the third one, not too much thought about, is HR.
Sure.
Because the guys who will operate in mines are not the guy who will do artificial intelligence in a lab in San Francisco. And we don't have those guys anymore. Because I am on the board of the Paris School of Mines, but 90% of the students, they want to work in digital. So we are called Paris School of Mines, but nobody works in mines anymore. Mm-hmm. They do data mining instead of raw material mining. So it will be very important not only to increase the number of students in all those schools of engineering, mining, geology, and whatever, but also to attract people who come from other sectors, other industries, whatever their age. And of course, if we can have a few more women, I will not oppose it.
So in the World Materials Forum, you try to connect these students with the industrials. Okay.
We have not only startups, but we have a group called Below 25, mm-hmm. and every year we have 12-15 Below 25 who are invited.
Okay.
And they interact directly with the CEO of a big group, and they act as a sort of PA for our partner CEOs, and so they have the opportunity to discuss with them. And each of the Below 25 interacts with the big group CEO and the startup CEO. Mm. So they have the opportunity to really have great exchanges. And in the fast, I kept maybe the best for the end, which is technology.
Yes.
So focus, agility, speed, and technology. And here I want to give another example because I know you will ask me a few questions about mining afterwards.
For sure.
So I would like to spend 2 minutes on data.
Yes.
Data storage and usage. It's, as I told you before, it's amazing, plus 40% every year. How can we cope with it? Mm-hmm. And there is an incredible technology that's called spintronics that was developed in 3 parts of the world in parallel, in Japan, in Europe, and in the US. And because we have been working with those universities from the start of WMF, so Tohoku University in Japan, the University of Nancy, IGL in France, and the University of San Diego in California. And the 3 professors who have been working on this have had incredible results. And if and when, because it will happen, when spintronic becomes industrial, it can really divide by 50 the consumption of energy of those data centers.
To the people who are listening to us today, can you just define the spintronic, please?
Spintronics, no, it's a little bit too complex. It's a way to work on the structure of the molecule to avoid that the elements inside the molecule steer each other and use energy just by connecting to each other instead of leaving the whole conductivity happen.
All right. Okay.
So it's a bit. I mean, I know
it's a disruptive technology.
It's a very disruptive technology. I know that my friends of spintronics will laugh at my explanation because they have a much better technically scientific explanation for. But it's really about allowing those elements inside the molecule to act freely without touching each other, so they don't consume energy.
All right, no, very clear. As we are talking about data center, and there's a lot of sounds around the impact of data center in the environment, innovation clearly is often seen as the key to reconciling mining with environmental and social expectation. Victoire, what do you see as the most disruptive technologies in mining today?
Okay, so first, there are plenty.
Yes.
So if, as you limited my speech time, I have decided to focus on 4 of them.
Sure.
3 in mining and 1 in recycling.
Okay.
So the first one in mining is maybe the first one that was made official. Nearly 6-7 years ago, in Nevada, there is an open pit mine that mines rare earth. And during years, the mine had not been used because the US was buying all of their rare earths from China. And there was a guy who was an incredible inventor who decided to create MP materials to acquire this open pit mine and to restart it. And to restart it and gain support from the people around the mine, he decided to use a very impressive technology called dry stack tailing. And dry stack tailing, I will not explain to you in detail what it means, but the important thing is minus 75% in the use of water.
All right.
So in the desert of Nevada,
this is very key indeed.
It's crucial. Yes. And that gives me the opportunity to tell you that we are not only focusing on CO2 emissions, but we are always tackling CO2 emissions, water, energy, and production of solid waste. So if we can reduce the 4 of them, Because sometimes if you only reduce CO2 emission, you can also increase the use of water or energy.
But yes, can compensate even though it's not the objective.
Do the 4 at the same time is important. So the first one, MP Materials in Nevada for an open pit mine in rare earth. The second one I really like a lot is Ivanhoe Electric in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Why? Because today it's the first time that really the US restarts mining of copper. And what we are doing in Arizona, in Santa Cruz, so it's a very well-known deposit, but that has never been used for mining until now. Mm-hmm. And we are using 2 combined technologies. One was developed, so the project is in the US, and the 2 technologies, one was developed in France, and the other one was developed in Canada.
All right.
So the one developed in France is a company called iPulse in Toulouse. They have developed a specific device called Typhoon, and Typhoon allows to, I will say it really with a proper word, to use high pulse power, so the same power that is being used for nuclear purposes, and that can locate deposits, sulfide mineral deposits, at depths over 1.5 kilometers. And they do it very much quicker than any other technology. And at the same time, when we use this high pulse power technology, we gather huge amount of data. What do we do with the data? Mm-hmm. And there we used an AI startup that was developed in Vancouver, and that is specialized in using and understanding geo-survey data. So we have this combination of this very, really deep tech engineering technology developed in Toulouse with high pulse power, and at the same time, AI specifically focused on geo-survey. And that really, and when we bring the 2 together, we have done the full survey for this copper deposit in half the time than any other projects in the world.
Oh,
and we've just announced the results in June 2025. So that's super. The third example in the mining industry is Boliden. Mm-hmm. What has Boliden done? They have very quickly acquired the company because Arizona, Ivanhoe Electric, it's building a new mine. Mm-hmm. But you also need to be quick in acquiring new mines. Sure. Because if the acquisition lasts for years and whatever, you spend huge amount of time in raising the financing, in getting the permitting,
having a social license to operate also at the end of the day.
And what Boliden has done in a few months at the beginning of this year in acquiring 2 mines, one in Sweden and one in Portugal. And I was extremely proud to visit the one in Portugal. It's amazing how they have integrated it, how the 2 teams, Portuguese and Swedish, work well together, and how they have very, very quickly implemented a new way of doing things. So that is very, very important. I wanted to give those 3 projects.
Sure. And we have the recycling, indeed. The recycling.
And the recycling, okay. I will give you one and maybe
seems to be a good
one.
Opportunity for the European actors in the mining sector.
Solvay in La Rochelle is a very interesting project of recycling all those wastes and turning them back into rare earth. Okay. So it's a super unit. It was just started a few months ago.
All right.
It's in France. And I have another one in the US, which is called Momentum Technology in Texas. And a young guy from McKinsey who had the idea of taking a technology that was unused in a remote US university to recycle all our smartphones.
Okay.
Smartphones and electronic devices. And with this, he created a proof of concept. And the proof of concept was to do the medals for the Tokyo Olympic Games. So the gold medals were done out of recycled electronic devices in Texas. Okay. So all those crazy ideas, but it works very well. Now they are really moving away from just a lab to doing it in an industrial way. The industrial line is being built in Texas. It's amazing. So La Rochelle and Texas are 2 very interesting topics. One for recovering the rare earth and the other one more for the ones that are really very necessary for making batteries.
No, very clear. As we are talking about France, European Union, and the US, it's come my 4th question. Both the US and Europe are thriving for greater independence in the supply of critical minerals, as you know. What would be, or what complementaries or differences do you see in their approaches and how maybe they can work together? It's a huge subject today.
Yeah, it's a huge subject, but the funny thing, the objective is really the same.
Sure.
Whatever, be independent. Everybody wants to be independent. The ways to get there are a little bit different, but the one thing that I find always funny, in between brackets, is the Europeans, they have a very systemic approach. The key thing is not to be wrong, not to do mistakes. So we are much more risk adverse than the Americans.
Okay.
The Americans, they want to be quick. So even if they make mistakes, no problem. They will start another project. So it's really this systemic approach to reduce the risk, whether compared to a more entrepreneurial approach to be quicker.
Okay.
That's how I see it. When you can get both on the same side, it's amazing.
Oh, it's interesting. Thank you for your point of view, Victoire. Very welcome again to have you here today, and maybe see you next year.
Okay, thank you, Raphael, for the invitation. It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you.